Dr. Jill Biden, PhD, ultra PhD, scolds Joe Biden for not standing up for her. She came out during the Obama ceremonial unveiling of the two photographs. Look at these two lovebirds here in the White House. The media and the people in the White House were just very thrilled about this. They said, finally, people who can talk are back. And they came in and they unveiled these two photographs. And I think Obama, I think they cropped out the background, or this is maybe a template for a meme or something. I don't know exactly what that's all about. But they've got these two photographs, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at them a little bit more closely. But there was a whole ceremony there today, right? There was the Obamas were there, and they got together to look at photos, weird things that we do in American politics, to gather a bunch of journalists in a room and I'm going to show you a picture of me. Wow. So anyways, so then Obama said something. Joe Biden whispered into the microphone again. And all of that took place. We're going to go through all of that. But the scolding took place right at the beginning of the ceremony. Okay. They all come walking in. They're all seated around. And they all take turns speaking, right? They all get up and they say something. You've got, Dr. Jill Biden, ultra PhD, who's a doctor. She finally takes the stand, the podium, after Joe or after Obama or whomever, they're out there. And the crowd gives her a standing ovation because she's a Dr. PhD. And as Jill Biden takes the podium to deliver her brilliance all across America, let's listen to what she says about her husband, Joe, the president.
Joe, honestly, everybody stood but Joe.
Whoa. There's Joe. Honestly, everybody stands but Joe. Okay, so let's watch that one more time, and I'm going to get myself out of this clip. And watch the crowd, right? Joe Biden stands back up. Let's watch this one here.
Joe, honestly, everybody stood but Joe.
All right. Now, we've said this before here, that I think there might be a little something going on between these two, because Jill Biden had previously dropped off Joe Biden, sort of like a bad DoorDash or an Amazon package. He was speaking, standing in the wrong place. She's like, move your butt over here. And she's kind of agitated and irritated that she's got to continually sort of move him all over the place. But she does that. And now she scolds the president. Joe, you didn't stand up. Everybody else stood up for me. But you're just sitting there on your big, fat, lazy butt. But guess what, my friends? We're defending Joe Biden here today. My friends, Joe Biden stood up for her. All right? He actually did stand up. And she still called him out on this whole thing in front of everybody. He did. Watch this angle. He actually did get his butt up and he sat back down and she scolded him anyways. Watch this one.
Biden.
Look, there's Joe. He stood up. There's Jill. He stood up right there. Now watch. Watch. He's going to sit back. He's standing. That's Jill. He's going to sit back down. They say, hi, Mr. President. We love you. Standing up. She can see it. She can see it. He sits down. Now he sat down. Okay, now he's down. The president, now he stands back up. Now he stands back up. And then she calls him out. Watch.
Joe, honestly, everybody stood but Joe.
What? He did stand. He did stand up.
Thank you, Michelle.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thank you to MRC TV for clipping that. Go follow MRC TV on Twitter. He did stand up. I mean, I feel bad for Joe Biden right there. Honestly, I'm like, well, that sucks. He stood up, he sat down, and he stood right back up again. Joe Biden is innocent. I got to say it. He's not guilty of that. But I think you can see a little bit more out of Jill. I mean, she's hot, right? She's ready to go. She is ready to just fire off on Joe. She's had enough. She's so tired of him walking him down the podium and walking him back. She just is not happy with this. And so she just took one right at him. It's not very nice. So, keep an eye on that marriage. See how that goes. Anyway, so the two photographs that came out, of course, this one, Barack Obama. And okay, so, all right, I guess it's a photo. Whatever. I don't know what these things are for. I guess they hang them up in the White House somewhere and they gather everybody together and like, what's the white back? Don't you want some depth to it or something? Or is this like a cutout? It looks like clip art. Like I could just clip it out and put it on a popsicle stick for a puppet or something. I don't know, but okay. I mean, it's a nice photo. It's a nice suit. It looks good. It looks, nice. Okay. Yeah, it looks like a cutout. All right. And then you've got this one with Michelle, and she looks like, this looks like it came, honest to God, right out of the Epstein mansion. But all right, it's a photo, and they hang them up around the White House, and I guess it's supposed to be a thing, And, anyways, so that's what they were doing over there at the White House. Now, while they were speaking, we got a couple of very interesting clips. Obama came out. And, he comes out and he says, gosh, things are just going so great in America. I'm so thrilled that Joe Biden is now the president, sort of. I'm kind of sort of still the president, but Joe Biden's technically the president. But, he says, things are better in America with Joe in charge. Don't you feel that, America?
Maybe most of all, thanks to your faith in our democracy and the American people. The country's better off than when you took office, and we should all be deeply grateful for that. So thank you so much.
Applause from the clapping seals in the room. Things are better. Things are better. Well, CNN had this article over from February 2nd, 2022, not too long ago, telling us that American happiness hits record low. Oh, that sucks. Here, one word can describe how Americans are feeling about the way things are going. That word, bad. Yeah. That's the finding of a new Gallup poll that was out back in February. Any sense of optimism that was apparent after vaccines were developed has abated. Americans are not pleased with what's going on. Gallup has been asking Americans how they're feeling over for the 29 measurements. Just 38% of Americans say they're satisfied. And yeah, we're going to see how that continues to go as, the incompetence continues to show no limits from the White House or the Biden administration. So record lows. Obama saying the country is better off. Doesn't really look like that. And according to most Americans, doesn't really feel like that either. We also have Joe Biden. Joe Biden whispering to Michelle. He does this thing where he gets real close to the mic and he likes to, I think, get personal with you. Here he is making one of these weird statements to Michelle Obama.
Michelle, he knows, we all know, he couldn't have done it without you.
It just feels gross in your eardrum, especially if you've got one of these microphones in there. I'm not going to play any of those whispers anymore. Those whispers are now banned from this channel. All right, and we've got one final clip here. Now, while the White House was busy sort of congratulating themselves with photography portraits that were clip art photos that belong on popsicle sticks, we've got Karine Jean-Pierre gets asked a very substantive questions from the Fox's Peter Doocy. Doocy is referencing this report from an inspector general that is talking about border security and border issues. The idea being, hey, if you've got a porous border and you've got hundreds of thousands of people who are coming over every quarter, then one of the people that might come across might be dangerous to America. If we've got all these dangerous threats and terrorists and, extremism and all this whatever crap they keep telling us about, shouldn't we be concerned if the inspector general says the border is not all that secure? In fact, we might actually have some pretty big threats coming across the border in real time. And what Doocy is asking Karine about, he's saying, Karine, listen, we've got 2 minutes here of Doocy time. And he says, I'm going to ask you about this report. The Inspector General report is saying we might have some pretty catastrophic threats at our border. My question to you as the White House presidency office, do you think that the MAGA Republicans are a higher or lower threat than the threats from the border crossers that the Inspector General has identified. Ducey's going to ask about this in two parts. She's going to answer it, and then the first part is about the IG report. The second part is about the MAGA Republicans, and he's going to tie the two together. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karine. As refugees were being evacuated from Afghanistan into the U.S. last year, why weren't they all being thoroughly vetted?
So, are you talking about what are you referring to?
Well, so as the White House was managing the Afghanistan withdrawal last year, we were told no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process. But now there's this DHS Inspector General who says CBP admitted or paroled evacuees who were not fully vetted into the United States. That is not good. That is different than what you guys said. So how did this happen?
No, it's not different than what we have said. That very report, it did not take into account the key steps in that rigorous, you heard from us, rigorous and multi-layered screening and vetting process the U.S. government took before at-risk Afghans were permitted to come to the U.S. Again, I would refer you to the DHS comments on this. It did not take into full account of what the other agencies are involved in making sure that this multi-layered process and screening process, it is a multi-agency effort, and it did not. This particular report did not include that.
Okay.
So saying that the report, their interpretation or the report's interpretation is different than somebody else's interpretation. It's all just sort of legalese or press secretary mumbo jumbo is the better phraseology there. But she's now going to get asked now, right, if those are threats to America, what about the MAGA Republicans? How do they stack up to these other legitimate threats that have been articulated by the IG?
But so in the last week or so, we've heard the president calling elected Republicans a threat to the country. Does he think MAGA Republicans are more of a threat to the country than people DHS says may pose a risk to national security and the safety of local communities? Again,
DHS has disputed this report. And it said it didn't take into account the key steps.
Not answering that question. She's answering the question about the Inspector General versus the DHS. The Inspector General is an independent agency that does their own analysis, and they say, we've found some problems. They're saying the DHS is responding to the IG saying, we disagree with their report. Now, the question is about MAGA Republicans. Is she going to answer that?
That we have taken, as a U.S. government, the rigorous multi-layered screening and vetting process that we take as a government. That was not part of the report. Again, this report is not accurate. I know that our team has spoken to your team about this, and the DHS has provided a comment saying just that. So, again, I refer you to DHS.
I refer you to DHS. So are the MAGA Republicans a threat in the same context as other threats to America? I refer you to DHS. And there's that clip where she just doesn't look so good. All right, she finishes with Ducey, and then watch this like sigh, like, and she just looks over. She's like, oh gosh, finally. She just wraps it up right here.
The DHS has provided a comment saying just that. So again, I refer you to
Here it
DHS.
Yikes. Okay, next question. Yeah, she's had enough of Ducey. Ducey asks some hard questions. Basically the only person in the media who does much of that at all, and she does not like that. Karine Jean-Pierre having to deal with some of the hard questions while the Obamas and the Bidens play photography lesson and unveil some portraits over there at the White House, as Jill Biden needlessly scolds the total innocent Joe Biden, who actually did stand up and got scolded anyways. Can't do anything right over there. So, all right. Well, that's the White House, my friends. And thank you for subscribing. We, of course, are going to continue to cover these clowns indefinitely. And I appreciate your support, your likes on this video before you skip on over to the next one.